The call of the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day to those who celebrate. Welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas, coming to you again from DJ's Dugout in Omaha. I'm recording Tuesday afternoon, post Inside Arkansas Live, pre-Arkansas baseball game. We know that they play UCLA, but we don't know exactly just yet what happens. Here with John Neighbors and Andrew Ellis, and you can see Andrew's shoulder right now. I'm sure he'll creep into the shot every now and then while we're doing this. If you were listening to this, and heaven forbid the Arkansas baseball season came to an end Tuesday night, well, got to be honest with you, I just didn't know it happened yet. So don't stress me over my vibes right now because they're still good. All right, I'm still buzzing over Gage Wood's no-hitter. I'm excited about this game that's coming up here, which, by the way, was talking to the guys about that last night. We were talking about just, iconic NCAA tournament performances or moments or whatever. Nothing that could really match what Gage Wood just did, but we had a couple that we listed out there, but one that I thought about that I didn't talk about on the show was Devo's shot against Oral Roberts, right? And the reason why that kind of stood out to me, and it would have been one thing if it was a straight buzzer beater, because Max Asmus had a shot to beat Arkansas potentially a couple seconds later, but that was a huge moment that you'll never forget from an Arkansas postseason, and it was against like a very unexpected opponent, right? I mean, we're talking Murray State in baseball and Oral Roberts in basketball. So from that standpoint, I thought about that. And then we were also talking about Trey Wade and the game that he had against Gonzaga, just how crazy it was that all of a sudden you had all these NBA guys, Dwayne Wade hitting him up, different people tweeting about him because he shuts down Chet Holmgren and he hits all those three-pointers. And, and then we're just watching Gage Wood with every time we look over our shoulder, there's TVs all over the place here at DJ's Dugout, and we look over our shoulder or look one direction, there's Gage Wood. He's on somebody else's show. And it's just so kind of, a little bit crazy how that's worked out, but very, very cool nonetheless. So, hey, one note before we get started here. I think at some point here, as you guys are listening to this on Wednesday, we're going to get the SEC schedule release for men's basketball. Now, it's not going to be the dates. We'll have to wait on that a little bit, but, we're going to know where Arkansas is going, who's coming to Bud Walton Arena, who the home and homes are besides Mizzou and LSU, which I think are your constants, but you might be able to mix it up. So we'll see. Like, they've been making a few changes here. For example, Kentucky and Florida are playing each other twice this year. They only played once last year. So maybe you're not guaranteed to play Texas twice. Maybe they're shaking it up a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. But maybe there's room for a surprise or two. The dates and everything are going to be a little bit more telling of how the slate really shakes out and shapes up. But that comes out a little bit later. But at least we're going to know the who and the where. So at any rate, you guys know the drill. When we're doing this here at DJ's Dugout here in Omaha during the College World Series run, we're trying to be as short and sweet and rapid fire as possible with these Pod at the Palace things. Right? If you're thirsty for a little bit of basketball news, we'll quench your thirst, but not too much beyond that because baseball's the show right now, and it's all good. So another quick hits episode to get you in, get you out, talking some hoops. Today, we're going to play the comparison game just a little bit, right? It's really tough to do this because we've seen last year's team play and not this team, right? But is Arkansas really better than they were last year on paper? By a lot, by a little, not at all. The SEC is not going to quite be the same, but the non-conference is way tougher, so we don't really know. Like, what will the win-loss look like? We don't know yet. But what if these two teams played last year's Arkansas roster versus this year's Arkansas roster? Let's talk about it a little bit. But first, I have to tell you guys about today's sponsors over at HD Roofing and Construction. Those storms can hit unexpectedly or expectedly. It's like clockwork in Omaha, Nebraska. You're going to get some weather during the College World Series, and we've been dealing with it, trying to fend it off the entire time we've been here. Same thing back down in Northwest Arkansas, where I know the weather's been a little bit wild down there. My wife's been driving back and forth to Bentonville for work through storms and some craziness. When that happens, when you get hit with the hail, the high winds, the tornadoes, heaven forbid, give HD Roofing a call. Let them come out there and take care of your roofing needs. They will come out for a free inspection, let you know what's going on up top, and give you a little bit of peace of mind. When you go with HD Roofing Instruction, you're going to get professionalism. You're going to get top quality materials, and you're going to get expert installation. Give them a call, 501-428-0429. Check out the website, hdarkansas.com, or check out that nifty little QR code, the top right-hand corner of your screen. We're also brought to you today by our friends over at Basis Health. If you're sick, you're run down, you're running a fever, you're throwing up all over the place, do you really want to get in a car and drive across town and sit in a waiting room before you can see a doctor? No, you probably don't. Well, why don't you have them come to you? And that's what Basis Health will do with those mobile medical visits, where they'll come straight to your front door and take care of you with primary care, urgent care, IV hydration, and more. Hit them up. Check them out, basishealth.org, or that top right-hand corner, that QR code, nifty little thing. All right, let's move on. So what we're going to do today, we're just going to break down like a position-by-position breakdown, right? Let's do this first, okay? We're going to go position by position, last year versus this year. But let me pose a question before we actually get into that for you guys to think about, and then I'm going to answer it at the very end with my opinion, assuming full health, right? Because right now we're operating under the assumption that everyone that's on Arkansas's roster for this upcoming season is going to be healthy and be able to play in every single game. Well, this time a year ago, we felt the exact same way about Arkansas's last roster with those 9 guys. What were we saying? Hey, it's risky to have this short bench or whatever. It's risky to not have a lot of depth, but if everybody stays healthy, they should be fine. Well, joke's on you, Arkansas. You weren't healthy, and it wasn't fine until it was late in the season. Wound up being a nice year, but it could have been better. But we're assuming full health here. It's very important. If you had that, who would win a 40-minute basketball game between last year's team and this upcoming year's team? What I want you to do is think about your immediate answer when I just asked that question, and we're going to go position by position here, and I want to see if by the end of this, does your mind change at all, right? Let's start at point guard, and I think it's interesting here right away. Your point guards last year, DJ Wagner, Boogie Flan, Billy Richmond, right? You had DJ, Boogie, and Billy Richmond. Billy Richmond was kind of your, quote unquote, emergency option, third string guy, whatever. But he wound up playing a decent amount there because what happened? Boogie got hurt. This year, you've got DJ again. You've got Billy, who can serve that role again. And then you've got Darius Acuff. So this is tough because of a few things, right? For starters, we saw how freshman Boogie translated, but then he got hurt, right? And we don't know how freshman Darius Acuff is going to translate yet. But we know that he's rated, significantly higher. He's coming in as the top rated point guard in his class. A bona fide 5-star. And Boogie, in fairness, he's a top 25 guy, but he wasn't in the elite of the elite. So I'm going to assume that Acuff is the better player, but he's also a different one. Right? He's just a different kind of player. And on the flip side, DJ Wagner became significantly better when he slid over to point guard after Boogie got hurt. Is he going to pick up right where he left off? Is it going to be a big adjustment for him, with another alpha back there in the backcourt with him? You see what I'm saying? But here's my quick synopsis, though. We're also going to have to see how DJ and Acuff play together. How does that work when they're sharing the floor together? Because I tend to think that they're going to start together, but they're going to share the point guard duties. My quick synopsis, though, if Acuff can just be an above-average shooter, and then maybe, just maybe, he will also play a more winning brand of basketball than Boogie Flan. Okay, outside of just stat matching him, does he play winning basketball? Because that was kind of the question as to whether or not Boogie really did that. A lot of things went into that 0-5 start in SEC play before he got hurt, but it's a fair question to have. So where does Acuff stand from that perspective? If you have that, then I think the way I look at it is you have year 3 DJ in the system under John Calipari, his second year at Arkansas. You've got a year 2, third option in Billy Richmond there, who's familiar with the system. And then you have the top freshman point guard in the country taking over for Boogie. So in my opinion, if they can coexist, this should be a spot that's improved for Arkansas. The 2 guard last year, you had Nelly Davis and DJ Wagner. This year, Malik Thomas and DJ Wagner. So based off what we know right now, it's hard to say that Arkansas is clearly upgraded at this spot. It doesn't mean they won't be, but I don't know that I can just look at it right now and say, oh, yeah, they're better. When you're replacing a fifth-year senior, a veteran for a freshman who has a ton of upside, but you just don't know yet. It's impossible to say. Nelly was hurt early. He was frustrating often, before I think he showed us what he was actually capable of. What do you think, the final month or so of the season? When he was on, he was awesome. put the team on his back. He had 30 on Texas Tech in that Sweet 16 game. Part of Arkansas's trajectory, though, towards a better season, in my opinion, it's Malik Thomas, just kind of filling that void of Nelly being out of there. Now, how he'll go about doing it is probably going to be a little bit different. He's not going to be as impactful on the defensive end as Nelly was. He'll probably be a better creator off the bounce, if we're being honest. Like, that's kind of his game. Can he replace the shooting volume? Nelly made over 53s. Can Leak give you over 53s? I think so. I also think that he can do it at a higher percentage. But what he can't replace and what he's not going to be able to replace is the Final Four experience, the multiple NCAA tournament runs, the veteran calmness. All that stuff comes with a little bit of seasoning. You just hope that he's dialed in from that perspective by the time you get to March, the way Carter was, the way Billy was, right? On the flip side, Leak is a better pro prospect than Nelly was. Like, there's higher ceiling for him, and there's probably a lower floor, even though there were times where Nelly was pretty bad. You got to be honest there. But right now, I think I'm going to go with a slight downgrade at the 2, but I'm very, very open to this being wrong as it all plays out. We just got to see what it looks like, with a true freshman coming in. It's 2 of the 3 guards that you're going to lean on pretty heavily there that are going to be newcomers, albeit very, very talented. What about the wing? I think this is easy. Like last year you had Carter, you had Billy, and, you had to do Thero in a pinch, but barely played any 3. You had Nelly early on, who kind of started at 3, but he was really a combo guard in a 3-guard lineup, whatever. This year you got Carter again, Billy again, and then you got Isaiah Sealy. For me, I believe this is a pretty clear upgrade for Arkansas going into next season. Like, year 2 Carter Knox and year 2 Billy Richmond, they're just simply going to be better basketball players than the year 1 version of what they were, than the true freshman version. Like, they don't have to go through that learning curve. The game doesn't have to slow down for them, right? They're there. They should actually be significantly improved from what they were last season. Both are going to be super impactful pieces. Carter, in my opinion, is an all-SEC caliber player going into next year. Billy is a guy that I think can really make a leap and impact the game in a number of ways. He might wind up being a Swiss Army knife type for him for the Razorbacks, and we're going to talk about what they're missing from that standpoint. He might be a guy who could fill the void a little bit. And then I'm really, guys, I'm getting high on Isaiah Sealy. I really am. A true 6'7". He's not rail thin. He can shoot it. He can create off the bounce. You have 2 studs, and you have a high ceiling wild card there. They all complement each other, I think, very well with their different skill sets. I am all in on Arkansas being improved on the wing going into next season. So that's 2 out of 3 positions, right? What about power forward? What about the 4? Last year you had a Thero and you had Trevor Brazil. And this year you've got TB, you've got the incoming freshman international guys, and Paolo Semedo and Kareem Rattel. Let me get this out of the way first. If Arkansas were to wind up getting an Igor Rise-Off or somebody like that to close out the final spot on the roster, if that happened, I would hear an argument for this being close or a toss-up, something like that. As it stands right now, last year Adu was your leading scorer. He was your leading rebounder. He was your most versatile defensive piece, and now he's gone. Okay, and I think that Trevin's going to be closer to the March version of himself than he was like the January version of himself consistently for Arkansas. I really do. But he's not, and Arkansas does not have that hybrid 4-man, that combo 4, that Swiss Army knife type of player this year that Adu was. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. Maybe it's a combination of guys that can kind of help him accomplish that goal. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think that means that Arkansas can't be really, really solid at the 4. Like I said, I love TB. And if you remember one of our recent episodes of the Pot the Palace, we kind of talked about how, the defense dipped a little bit when he got inserted into the lineup. But the rebounding, even though Adu is your leading rebounder, Arkansas became a better rebounding team when TB was inserted into the lineup. And they also got way, way better offensively. Like it was a drastic change on Torvik. I think it was like, there was something along the lines of 97th in offensive efficiency with Thero available and in the lineup, and then they were top 40 with Trevin in there. So it was huge. So I get it, and I think it's just going to look a little bit different, but they can certainly be effective. You need TB out there for 30 minutes a game, man. Paolo, in my opinion, is another wild card, which we went more in depth on that yesterday. But, his length, his athleticism, that plays as a rim runner and a shot blocker now. If he really starts to develop and sharpen up his game, he may be a very capable and like a regular rotation 4 early on as a true freshman. If so, you're that much deeper and better for it, and you got a 7'2" guy that you can play. That'd be great. But I also think that Arkansas is in a position now that they've added some bodies to where they can really experiment with the 4 behind Trevin. Like, hey, if a guy like Paolo or Rattel or whoever can step up and just kind of assume whatever minutes are left there, that's great. But you don't have to have that. You just hope that you do. I think Arkansas can do some 4-guard type stuff, like we talked about. If Sealy emerges somebody that can help you, between him and Carter and Billy, there are ways where you could throw out some 4-guard lineups with a jumbo wing playing the 4 or whatever, and get away with it and not give up too much. I would like to see them maybe try some of the double big stuff with Malik Ewan and his versatility and Nick Pringle in there. So there's more than one way to skin a cat. But if we're going, by the roster at the 4 spot last year compared to this year, a little bit better last year. I mean, Adu might be a first-round draft pick. It is what it is. What about the center position? Last year you had Jonas Adu and Big Z. This year you had Malik Ewan, Nick Pringle, and Elmir Zafik, right? The Bosnian bulldozer. We saw healthy, good Jonas for like 2 weeks, so this is a tough one. That has to be considered. But, this group with Ewan and Pringle and Zafik, it's deeper, it's more physical, it's more experienced, it's tougher, and I think that it's upgraded. I do. You won't have Big Z's 3-ball, and so you're going to be missing that a little bit, but Trevin is a guy who's going to get more volume and can make that up. You also won't have his inability to secure a defensive rebound either, which is something that drove us nuts, and it cost Arkansas on multiple occasions in SEC plays. So, speaking of rebounding, I think that these guys should really clean up on the offensive glass as well. So one of the things, if you're looking at Arkansas and you wonder, do they have enough three-point shooting? Are they going to be able to make enough threes? If they can just match what they did last year, hopefully be a little bit better than that. But if you go from rebounding 28% of your misses to rebounding 35% of your misses, you could average 3, 4, 5 points per game more, right? I think Arkansas is going to be at the 5 spot better in pick and rolls. With both Ewan and Pringle, I think you have a go-to scorer that you can go to on the block, and Malik Ewan, there's a lot of toughness there. I think a third body as well. I'm not saying that Elmir Zafik is going to be a guy who's going to play a huge role for you in your rotation right away, but at least he's there. At least he's on your roster. At least you don't have to practice against graduate assistants every game. At least if you have all your bigs getting foul trouble like you did against St. John's last year, you can have somebody to turn to. You can put them in a game, and you don't have to play Carter Knox at center or something stupid. So I like that addition there. I like the depth there. I think I'm all in on the center spot for sure. So you thought about it before we started when we asked who would win a basketball game between last year's team and this year's team. And I want to go position by position and see if anything that you thought, if you changed your mind on it. Who do you think would win? For me, I think it would be a heck of a game. I said a 40-minute basketball game might be a 45-minute basketball game. I think it could be something that went to overtime, right? But I like the continuity and I like the returning aspect of what these guys have. They're just going to be further along. I think they're going to be more in sync. I value the physicality that they have in the paint compared to maybe the skill that they had in there last year. And I'm higher on this incoming freshman class, particularly with guys like Acuff and Malik Thomas, than I was this last group. And look at what Carter Knox and Billy Richmond mean for you now. So I would give Arkansas this coming season a slight edge over last year's team, which was ranked number 16 in the country in the AP poll coming into the year. They wound up making a Sweet 16, dealt with a bunch of injuries. We'll never know how good they really were. But if they were 16th in a season where the SEC was historically loaded, right? I wonder if Arkansas is going to be in that top, 10 to 12 range when that first AP poll comes out this year. But what I really want to see is if they have that staying power. If they stay healthy, I think it's going to be a really, really fun team throughout the course of the season. All right. I'm going to get out of here. Appreciate you guys for tapping in as always. If you're not subscribed to the Inside Arkansas YouTube channel, make sure you do that. Find us wherever you find your podcast, listen in audio format, Apple, Spotify, anywhere. The Pod at the Palace is there. We're going to get locked in. We're getting dialed in. We're getting ready for this baseball game. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning. Everybody have a great day. Appreciate you. See you tomorrow.